Welcome everyone, welcome back to our channel. Thanks for joining us. So in this video we're going to go over what we did for the rest of the floors and our finished product. So the first thing is what we did was we cut the lines vertical. So we did about 8 feet, and we did about 8 feet because of the old studs, and then 2 because of the length of the floorboards of the plywood. So we did 8 feet vertical, and then you could see here he's actually cutting little pieces, I would say about a foot of horizontal lines. And we did that because of actually our trash issue. So we wanted to actually put these little pieces into trash bags, the construction trash bags, and then actually dump it at the dumpster, instead of having big pieces of floorboards where we would have to get a dumpster or a truck. I do have to tell you guys that eventually, because we had so many bags of this, we couldn't even dump it at the dumpster because the dumpsters were full. So we did have to actually rent a truck to get rid of all the old floorboards that were taking up here. But that was fine. So after we did that, we did our cuts, we took out the pieces, and then we took out the old insulation. I told you guys before in the old video, it just wasn't a good idea to leave the old insulation. One, it was old, but two, it was just you don't know what kind of bugs or whatever was living on them. So it's just peace of mind just to put new insulation in. So that's what we did. So once I got rid of the insulation, and you can see here I'm actually vacuuming all of the mess, all of the the dust from the cuts and old things from the termites, all of the nastiness. So that's what we did there. So the process went for us pretty quickly once we got that first couple of pieces of plywood down. Then we could actually assess that, okay, this is how it's going to go for the rest of the floorboards. So once we knew that, it went really well for us, and I'm happy to say that we didn't come up with too many issues as far as what we had to do. However, and I'm not even really sure if I had videotaped this or not, but one of the issues that we came up with was the fact that the new 2x4 was actually bowing a little bit, and I don't know if it was bowing because of weather, because we did have these pieces of 2x4s outside, because we couldn't bring it inside. So I think that might have been a big issue for us as far as getting these new 2x4s to actually not bow. But what we did was either we had to trim it, or we had to put pieces of shim on top of it, just to kind of even it out with the old ones. But that wasn't too big of an issue for us. All right, so once I did all the vacuuming and stuff, I actually, you could see here, I'm spraying the termite liquid here. I actually don't know what it's called, but it is a liquid where it's used for old wood and new wood. So you want to soak up the new wood and the old wood together, and it actually dries up pretty quick. So you don't have to worry about it being wet and staying wet underneath your plywood. So it dries up pretty quick. It's used for future termites as well, so that if they try to nest there, they won't be able to because of the chemicals on there. So I do recommend you guys doing that before you are putting your insulation down and putting your plywood down. And you could see here he's also caulking the seams a little bit. So the seams is where it on the bottom is where you have the metal the metal stands for the trailer. So he's just making sure that those seams are nice and covered. And I don't know if I talked to you guys about this or not, but just to let you know as well that the insulation, they are pricey, but they are a lot thicker than those yellow old ones that you see on the walls and the ones that we took up. So it's definitely worth the money. It's just, like I said, it's just peace of mind to know that you're having something new and thick and a good insulation for your floors. We hadn't planned on doing that at all, so the insulation that I did buy was technically for the walls, so we will have to purchase more insulation for the walls. I did not want to reuse or leave the old insulation that we had for the living room and kitchen. It was just really nasty and dirty, so that was the best thing for us to do, and we're definitely going to be doing that. So you can see there, we put the plywoods down. So those are two 8 feet sheets of plywood. And so you're aware as well, this was a few days in between. We didn't finish this in one day. This did take us, I would say, 2 weeks to actually complete. There were days here and there that we worked on it and days we didn't. It was about 2.5 weeks, I would say. But you know what? That was a lot. I actually thought that it was going to take a lot longer. So knowing that it didn't take us very long to do the floors, it kind of gave me hope that we were actually going to get this done by Thanksgiving. So that's my goal now. At first, my goal was Christmas, but I'm going to say my goal now is going to be Thanksgiving, that the living room and kitchen is done, and the foyer as well. We actually left the foyer the way it was. We have not drywalled the foyer at all because of this. We wanted to actually be able to drywall the living room, kitchen, and foyer at the same time. That way, you have the consistency of what you're doing versus starting and stopping one project and then starting another project when you have to do the same things for all of the rooms anyway. So that's the goal. The goal is to have this hopefully finished in a month. It may be even sooner, who knows, but we will see. We haven't tackled what we would do with the kitchen yet, so that's going to be the bulk of our work moving forward after this wall. The hardest part of taking up the floor is going to be your edges. The edges are difficult. That is because it is the nails that are there are like the heavy, thick construction nails, and so and there were a lot of them too. So what we had to do was use the Sawzall to actually cut the nails. As you could see here, that's what he's doing. Even though I had cut my horizontal lines to get ready to actually take up the floor, I couldn't do that until he actually cut through the nails at the edges there. jump in here real quick just to kind of go over what's going on in the other side of the room. I did tell you guys that we had to move everything to the front of the house, where from where we were working. So that's what you see over there in that corner. So I wouldn't say that you know, it was difficult to actually do the floors. I would just say that you just have to have a good game plan of what you want to do, and then when you're tackling it, take your time to actually assess, okay, your plan, and then is it working, is it not working. We did have to do that a few times when we did the first cut of the floor, before we did move on. So once you get a good plan, it goes pretty well for you. It goes pretty easy as long as you know what you're gonna do. I mean, that's the key. Here I'm actually cutting part of the old frame here. That is the bathroom right there that you're seeing, and then the foyer to the left there. So I'm cutting that because we actually want to do a cut for the new floor to actually cover, as you can see there at the bottom. That was actually the old furnace. And to be honest, where we live, we don't need a furnace. There will be a couple of cold nights, but nothing I felt that we actually needed long term, and to have just kind of being in the way. So we took out the old furnace, and then when we were doing the floors, we decided that it was best to go ahead and cut where that old furnace was, and then put a new floor there, so that, you know, we didn't have any, I don't know, creatures or something coming out of the bathroom, you know, which can happen. But that was our way of, you know, making sure that nothing came up. So we put a new floor there as well. What you're seeing here is where actually the pipes for the sink, the kitchen is. There was a water heater there, so we took that out to make sure that we can get all the cuts for this old floor. You could see he kind of had to cut around the old pipes and then get all of that up so we can put new flooring in. And it was pretty bad over here where the kitchen was. It was bad due to probably water damage and termite damage, all of that good stuff. As you can see, like that blue glove on the pipe, he had actually took off a piece of the pipe which was going to this old sink. So we do plan on putting just like a new attachment there for our new sink when we actually get to that. So that's really all I had to kind of say about this section. He did want to put new piping down for the water heater and all of that. I honestly did not want him to do it. I said, if it's not, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it, that kind of thing. I didn't want to spend too much time or extra money where we really didn't need to. Maybe in the future we can do that. He wanted to reroute a lot of the pipes, which is, you know, it's a great idea and I'm all for it. I'm just thinking we could do that in the future and not right now. Like I said, I had a timeline where I wanted to get this finished, so it's all about just doing what is necessary at the moment. And you know, I think he had said that it was pretty easy to reroute the pipes. It just would take time. So it was more about the time, and it was more about the money, to be honest. I didn't show you guys in the other video, but you could see the foam there on the right. I did do a foam insulation for the side of the house. I thought that was really necessary because you could see those gaps where you see the light coming through. There were gaps, and it wasn't making me feel very safe as far as having lizards or snakes crawl inside the house. I think that would be terrible, and then we would be actually facing, snake eggs or lizard eggs like you saw in the other video, possibly, growing in the walls while we were living there. So I wanted to make sure that those gaps were completely covered and nothing can get through. So that is what you see there on the side, the right side there. That is all of the foam insulation that I did. And it wasn't very expensive either. I think you can get like 4 cans of that insulation. Probably, I think it was like $8 or $9 for 4 cans. So that was pretty cheap. Okay, so you're just seeing him here, screwing a piece of the plywood to the new side of the kitchen there. So we decided to do small pieces for the edges first, because that's where the cabinets are going. So we wanted to make sure that it was going to be nice and sturdy, instead of having a full sheet. As I said before in the last video, if you guys remember, when you're using a full sheet, you do run into the issue of maybe not having enough support for your whole board. But if you do short boards like we did here for the edge, you know that your board is going to be nice and sturdy, because it's a smaller cut. Not to say that you should do small cuts throughout the house, because that's not realistic, but I do recommend you doing it for the edges if you can. So what you're seeing him do there is actually put powder down, and that's for feature bugs and insects, roaches, anything you could think of. So the powder is just an extra precaution for us, even though we're doing the termite liquid chemical there on the wood. We wanted to make sure that we were also protecting our house against roaches and ants and insects in the future. And in case you guys are wondering why the paper of the insulation isn't side up, that is because of where we live. So where we live is very hot, it's humid. If you have the paper side up, what you're going to come against is having condensation, having moisture, which can cause mold. So if you live somewhere hot like we do, the recommendation that I've seen on Google and other YouTube videos is that you want the paper side down, so that it can protect from the heat and protect from the moisture that could possibly build up between your walls. So that's a little tip that we found out. So that's from us to you. So it was really good to actually see this last piece go in. This is the last piece of the floor, of our finished floor. And like I said, we were so happy to have this done. We couldn't believe that we actually got this done in a couple of weeks, in 2 weeks. But like I said, we did a couple of days here and a couple of days there. We didn't work the whole way through. So it was really good to have that done and see it finished, and it looks good, nice and sturdy. We have a great floor now. We can't wait to actually see everything coming together. The next thing that we're gonna focus on is going to be the walls now. Like I said, for the walls, we are doing a new frame for the wall. We are gonna do what we kind of did for the floor, which is sister the new walls to the old ones, and you'll see that in our next video. But thank you so much for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you out with your renovations. You guys have questions, any comments, please leave it down below. We really do enjoy doing these videos for you guys. It's good for us too, because we see what we're doing and how hard it is, and seeing the results makes it all worth it. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.